Okay, so let's continue with our GitHub series, and we were looking at the GitHub actions. So in the last video, we have covered how to add the status badge. So let me show you. So what we have covered in the last video. So we have covered like how to add the status badge. So whenever we are going to run our any actions, doesn't matter whether it's fail, whether it pass, it is going to update automatically into our README file, right? So it looks cool. So now we are going to, in this video, we are going to see the custom action. So which looks like important, maybe uh, you need to create your own custom actions based upon your requirement. If any actions is not available, all right, and you can also publish to the marketplace as well. So we are going to see how we are going to create our custom actions. All right. So if I open my folder, let me close that. So if I open my any file, any workflow. So if you noticed, we are using the uses. So currently we are using the third party GitHub actions. Like someone has created this. Like it doesn't mean like we have just entered docker/login and it's automatically going to login. No, behind the scenes someone has write some code, right? So behind the scenes someone has write that code. So it is very easy for us. We are just instead of writing our own code here, we are just using the GitHub actions from the marketplace, right? But like someone has created that, right? But you are also a developer, but can you create your own GitHub actions and you can publish to the marketplace so that the other person, or maybe not even other person, even you yourself also, like you can start using that GitHub actions. So how to do that? Right. So let me go to the marketplace first. So go to the three icon and let me go to the marketplace and go to the actions. So if I type here AWS CLI, right, I could see a couple of GitHub actions, right? But like if you notice here, if I need to set up the AWS CLI, only one is verified by the GitHub, and this is not to set up the AWS CLI. This is set up to AWS SAM CLI. I could not find any verified AWS CLI which we need to install, because I know it's very simple command, right? But there are so many GitHub actions, AWS CLI, AWS CLI, AWS CLI. So many has pasted by the published by the some other user. Like it's published by the it's Karma. It's published by like some this user. So let's try to create our same GitHub actions. So let's suppose you want to create your own GitHub actions to set up the AWS CLI. Similarly, as an example, if you come here, we are setting up the Python, right? We are setting up the Python. So here we are using the third party like a GitHub actions, right? So we mentioned setup hyphen actions, and automatically and we mentioned some inputs here, and automatically it's going to decide, okay, which version you want to install, right? But behind that some like code has been written. But it becomes very easy. We have to just mention the version number, and it's going to do like everything for us. We don't need to mention apt get install Python or many other things. We need to add any like Python to the path. No, we don't need to anything. But can we do same thing for the maybe can we create some action like actions, set up AWS CLI? If we mention set up AWS CLI, and let's suppose we are going to mention some inputs, and it is going to automatically going to create install our AWS CLI in our particular virtual machine. So we are going to do that. So let me create a workflow. So what we are going to achieve basically. So AWS CLI, AWS CLI workflow.yaml file. So let me tell you what we are going to achieve first. So let me copy paste this just to save some time. And instead of, let's change the name 17 AWS CLI workflow, and let's give it a name setup AWS CLI. All right, so you don't need any kind of permission. And here let's pose the first set checkout repository, and we can use action slash checkout at the rate before. We don't need this. And now we want we want setup AWS CLI, and we want to use something which we have created, right? Which we have created, and we want to give some inputs. What input we are going to give? So we need to give some input. So basically, when you are going to set up AWS CLI, right? So there are two steps. One is you install the AWS CLI, then you configure that, right? Because just installing the AWS CLI, then I I don't need to use the some third party action, right? I can just run pip install AWS CLI, but I want to configure that as well, right? I want to configure that as one thing is you can like manually write some command, but I don't want to do that. We are learning how to create our GitHub action. So I want to install the AWS CLI. I want to configure the AWS CLI, right? So configure means so the person has to pass the. So when I mention here something like let's suppose my actions are available on GitHub, so I can mention setup AWS CLI, right? And then I need to mention something here. I need to mention region. I can hard code it EU West 1. Then I need to mention AWS XX key. Then I need to mention AWS secret XX key. Right, this thing I need to mention, and because these are our secrets, so I can access from the secrets dot some variable, some AWS access key. So dollar secret dot AWS secret access key. Let me check the name. If the name is okay, secret access key, AWS XX key ID, something like that only. AWS XX key ID. That is fine. Like that is fine. So this thing we want to use. All right. But like this thing is not available, because if I run this is going to be failed because this is not available in our marketplace. So what we can do, because this is not available, so we have to create this. So how you are going to create this? So we have the .github folder, right? And under that we have all the workflows, right? Under that we have all the workflows, and you want to create the actions. So let's create the actions folder. So we created the actions folder, right? Now, under the actions, what you want? You want this folder, setup AWS CLI. So let's create one more folder, setup AWS CLI, right? So now this is, but under that, there should be some code. So let me create one file, action.yaml. So the file name should be action.yaml. Even if you come to the official documentation, here you can mention action.yaml. So they have mentioned either you can write by YAML or either you can write by AML, but the file should be action.yaml only, right? So we have created that. But what is the syntax? We don't know the syntax, right? So we don't need to worry. We are come here and metadata syntax for the AWS GitHub action. So here some syntax is given, some fields are required, some fields are optional. So let's just go through this metadata syntax for GitHub Actions. Basically, this is a action.yaml file basically, and how to write that. So first that they said this is a YAML file. YAML file means like key and the value pair. Okay, this name, is this required? Yes, this is required. So let's write name. Okay, the name of your GitHub action. So my name is setup AWS CLI. Fine. Author is optional, but still we can give author. Let's suppose I am the author. Right, then description is required. Let's give the description. So this is to set up and configure AWS CLI, because we are not only installing, we are configuring as well. Now we need to give inputs. This is also optional, but we need, because when we are using, we want to pass some inputs, we want to pass some inputs, right? So in our case, because we are using some inputs, we are using some inputs. So and what inputs we are using? Region, AWS access key, AWS secret access key. Okay, let's pass that. So we need to use some inputs. Okay, what is that? Whatever the inputs we are passing here. Okay, so what input we are passing? We are passing a region. We are passing region. So let's give the region. Okay. So one input is region. And under the region, let's go to the, so what are the like two parameter? One is the description, whether it's the required or what is the default value we can give here. So description, uh, AWS default region. Okay. This is required. Yes, this is required. We can mention to true, right? Then what else? So what else? We need to pass AWS XX key as well. We need to pass AWS XX key as well. So all this coding should be under this setup AWS CLI. So we want to pass this as well. This also in the description, and this is access key for AWS CLI. All right. Is this required? Yeah, this is also required. Okay. But is there any input required? Yes. Is there any other input required? So let's write that as well. Description. Give some description. This is secret key for AWS CLI. Is this required? Yeah, this is required. So we give required. Okay, now we have done. So let's scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Now we have the runs. Runs is required. Yes, runs are required. Let's give the runs. Okay. Now in the runs, so they have mentioned, so if you go to about custom actions, so they have mentioned there are three types of actions you can create. One is the Docker, one is the JavaScript, one is the composite. Docker, like doesn't matter whether you are a Python developer, whether you are a Java developer, whether you are any developer, you know some basic syntax of the Docker, right? So you can use the Docker, but it is going to only run onto the Linux. It's not going to run Mac OS and Windows. All right. So this is one of the disadvantage. Then you can write your code into the JavaScript. But let's suppose you are the Python developer. You don't know the JavaScript, then it is very difficult for you. Then you can use the composite actions, right? So in our case, we are going to use the composite actions, right? So let's go to the metadata syntax. So when we have to use the composite action, so let me scroll down, scroll down. So we have the runs. So we have to use using composite because we are using the composite action. So if you have to use Docker, then you can mention here Docker, but we are using the composite. Okay. Now, what steps we have to perform? What steps we have to perform? Let's give the name of the step. So name of the step is uh, install, or you can say setup AWS CLI. All right. Okay. So this is the name. And under that, we need to run some command. So we have to run multiple commands. Okay. Now, what we have to do? We have to do just pip install AWS CLI, and then we need to configure AWS configure set default dot region. And what is the region value? It should be inputs dot region. It should be input dot region. Then AWS configure set, and we need to set the AWS access key ID. I think this is the only. Let me go to the official documentation. Let's see. Yeah, AWS access key ID. And what will be the value? Whatever the user is going to pass. User is going to pass under the inputs. So user is going to pass under the inputs. It will come here, and we are going to access here, and it will come with this name AWS access key. Okay. Now AWS configure set. So now we need the AWS secret access key. I think this is the name only. So this is the command. So the command name should be, yeah, this is the only name. So what could be the value? Whatever the, sorry, what could be the value? Whatever the user is going to pass. Inputs dot AWS secret access key. AWS secret access key. Okay, so now this has been passed. So do you need to run any other command? So generally it's not required, but still we are going to run check AWS CLI version. All right, and then run AWS hyphen hyphen version command. But one more thing. So if you come here, so they are using some shell here. They are using some shell here. We have to also use shell here. So wherever this command is going to be run under the shell, which shell? Bash shell. Okay. Now we are installing the AWS CLI, but this thing is going to run under some like operating system, like under the virtual environment. So better you can create some virtual environment, Python virtual, and then you can do that. So Python minus m venv dot venv, then you can activate the virtual environment. So how to activate? So dot venv slash bin slash activate. I think source. I think this is the syntax only. So our action has been created, right? Our action has been created. So let me close this. But we mentioned uses actions from here. But currently our actions is not on the marketplace. Our action in the .github folder. So that's it. We will give our path GitHub and then actions. And then, but to access the .github folder, we have to write this. So we write this. So which is fine. So under the GitHub, then actions, then setup.aws CLI. Now, once we have set up the this thing, because whenever we are setting the Python, after that we are using that Python to install PyTest to run some Python script, right? So if you are installing a WCCI, let's use that. So list S3 buckets. Now run AWS S3 LS. So it is going to this my AWS account. It is going to run this command and it is going to list my all the bucket if it is available or not. So this is my normal workflow. The only thing is I have created this. The only Let's suppose I told you let's create a workflow file which is going to list S3 bucket. So what you are going to do? Okay, checkout repository generally it's not mentioned because we don't are using our code, but just for the safe side, we have not for the safe side. Maybe like let's suppose if you want to add further more steps, which are going to use this code. So that's why in the virtual environment, in the virtual machine, Ubuntu virtual machine, we pull our code here or basically git clone. Now, I told you you have to run AWS CLI command. So to run the AWS CLI command, AWS should be available there. So to make the AWS should be available, you need to set up the AWS CLI and then you need to configure the AWS CLI. So one option is that you can use some third-party action from the marketplace. But as we notice, there are nothing is available. There are available. I did not say there is nothing available. There are available, but it's created by the user. But if the user has created, but can't we create our? Yes, we also create. So how to create? We have to create under the actions folder, create the set CLI, and then we can. So we have to install. So how you are going to install? Because it is need some inputs. So these are the some basically it needs some input. We give these inputs, and we are going to give some steps here like okay Python, and then source, and then this thing. Okay. So let's try that whether it will work or not. So git status, git add, git commit minus m, uh, added custom GitHub actions, and then git push. So this is my demo. Go to my actions, and our AWS CLI workflow is available. So let me try that. So this is going to be fail. So let's see that it is setting a job. It is our like checking out the repository. Now it is setting up the AWS. So see Now it is setting up the AWS CLI. So we have mentioned to use this setup AWS CLI, right? So automatically it is starting. It is trying to create my virtual environment. It is installing AWS CLI, but this is going to fail. Why this is going to fail? This is trying to access from the secret, but these secrets we have not set up. So let's try to set up the secret as we have already covered in one of the video. So we just copy paste this and open the settings, go to the secrets and variable, go to the actions. It's under the secret there are repository secret, or and you can create a new environment, a new secret, give some name. So I have give some name. Now I have to access my secret. So let me open my AWS account, go to the IAM, go to the users, open this user, go to the security credentials, and go to the security credentials, and then so this is my access key. All right. So let me create the access key, like anyhow, like I will delete that. So create access key or the command line. I understand. Next, uh, access, create access key. So this is available. Just copy paste this and let me add the value, add secret. Now we need this as well. AWS secret access key. So let me add one more secret and let's get the value as well. So where is the value? Let me copy paste. Sorry, and then add the value and add secret. So we have added the secret. So let's me try to rerun the workflow. So let me try to rerun the workflow. Go to the actions, AWS CLI workflow, run workflow. Now refresh it, click on it. So my one job has been started. Let's see whether it's going to install my AWS CLI. If it is going to install, it should display the version as well. Then it should go list the S3 bucket as well. So there are still some error. Let's see what is the error. The following arguments are required. So value, the following arguments are required. We already mentioned the arguments. So it is installing. It is failing like AWS CLI version 2 has been installed, but it is like failing in the configure command. Let debug. So issue is like if you come here, we have the AWS access key, but we have set up with the name AWS access key ID. So let edit that. We can't edit, I think. Okay, no problem. We can create a new and let's add the value. So this is my value. Add secret. And I think access key is fine. Let me rerun that. Just refresh the page. Hopefully this will run this time. So we have one job. We have the multiple step checkout repository. Then we are setting up the AWS CLI. Setting up AWS CLI has been done. Now, like looks it run fine. Now AWS version has been visible. So let me expand that. So it is going to run the AWS version. So AWS version has been visible. Now it is going to list my S3 bucket. All right. But whether this command has been run fine or not, we don't know, right? So let's create some S3 bucket. Let me create the bucket. Pass my shoe bucket. So bucket has been created. Let's Run the workflow again. Rerun all jobs. So it is setting up the AWS CLI. It will take some time. So once this is going to be completed, now it has list my S3 bucket as Manchu. So if I see, it is going to list my like S3 bucket, so Manchu bucket, right? So let me delete that because this is no longer required. Okay, so we have covered how we can create our custom GitHub action. So we have created our custom GitHub action using the composite way because I don't know JavaScript, so we have not created using the JavaScript, but using the composite way we have created that. Now, if you want, so this should, if you think, okay, whatever you have created is useful and it could be used by some other projects as well, right? Because currently it is available in your repository, so no one can access that, right? So if someone has to access, they have to give you a repository path, right? So if you want, someone can directly access by like they are accessing checkout, so they can mention actions as slash setup AWS CLI, and they can mention this, and the AWS CLI, the latest AWS CLI version 2 is available for them, right? So you can do is you can publish it to the like the marketplace that we are going to cover in some other video. So that's it. That's the end of the video. Thank you.